Hi guys, Democracy here, welcome to another update video. So today, it's going to be the first of the CJCore update videos. So CJCore is my API, which it's been out for about 2 weeks on, what do you call it, Curse. So there'll be a link in the description to this mod. It's actually super awesome, I find. And I think you guys are absolutely going to love it. So let's imagine this scenario. You're in your lovely little house that you totally didn't build in creative. And you wanted to, say, see the energy inside, because Whaler isn't doing it for you anymore. Because most mods don't have Whaler support. Well, CJCore comes with this functionality built in. So CJCore is actually super awesome for this. In the redstone tab, you'll be able to find the multimeter, which you have to have in your hotbar. And if you just look at a block that holds energy, you'll see that in the bottom left, you'll see that it shows us the energy inside. So currently this is holding nothing, this is holding nothing, and they're all holding nothing. As you can see, that one also says on Whaler. But let's say I put in some charcoal. You will see that it's going up here, 180. This one isn't filling up because I told it not to. But you see this one is filling up, and you can see on the bottom left, it's actually showing us that the energy is inside. So it's just building up. That will generate us some power for now. I'll just wait for that to fill up. So it's really awesome. Look, so you can have this anywhere in the hotbar. So put it on the end, it works. I can even put it in the offhand slot, and it will work. I prefer it in the offhand slot. That's just the way I do it. So you can easily see the energy inside of these, which is super awesome. Yeah, so if I set this to in, you would also see that this one's also filling up correctly. So it doesn't just work on refined storage, it works on, I believe, every single tech mod. So if I just come in here, actually, I don't know why it went out, and I'm just going to put item cheat mode. There is a bug with the mods that I'm going to look at now, and that is build craft. One of the items will crash when you click search, so I'm not going to do that. If we get a, say, laser, and I'm just going to go get something that'll generate power, which is a Stirling engine. Go grab myself some. You can see it shows in here. I'll just show you quickly. Now the Stirling engine actually does hold power. I don't know why that's not okay. It holds MJ, but the problem is with this is that it doesn't have the support available. So you now see I place a laser. It means I can read energy from the laser. So I put this in here. I give it a redstone signal just on the side, and that should start pumping out power. You can see that this is getting power right now. We can actually check this is correct by pressing F3, and you see it says on the server and the client on the bottom left that is actually converting it from MJ to RF. So all of these are actually converted. So you might have mechanism which uses joules, and you'll have stuff like well, you have Tesla. You got all the different energies supports that you have, and this mod will work with all of them. So I'll just turn off that for now, and I'll show you the settings that we've got. So if we go to the mod options and I go down to CJCore, you can see that everything's here. We can go into the energy configuration, and we can even change the energy unit. So default energy unit is now Tesla. You now see it's in Tesla display mode. It has a nice lovely blue colour. This might be subject to change the colours for these. I know RF is going to stay as red because I think it looks nice. I think I might tamper with the colours a little bit. I'll put you on in now. I don't know why this isn't coming online. So you can easily change that. Let's head over to it again. You can change it to Forge Energy. So this is Forge Energy. It's going to be exactly the same. Forge Energy is the same as RF, same as Tesla. It's just a different port. I can then go back over, change it to the next one, Forge Energy Joules. So Joules is basically there's 4 joules and 10 RF. So it converts that correctly. So this holds 12,800, and that's everything in joules as you would expect. And we can also convert this to what's after that, Minecraft joules. So this is the default one. So this will say 613, which it is 613. This one will say what that is in Minecraft joules, which is that is what it is in Minecraft joules. I assure you, because it's just divided by 10 for RF to Minecraft joules. So you can that's the different energy types, and so there's more than this for options as well. So we can easily show the multimeter capacity, which does what you would expect. It says the capacity. So this is out of 660,000, which is correct. This one's out of 32,000, which is also correct. This one's out of 1 million, which is also correct. So it does work correctly. And again, I'm going to disable that. You can even change where it is. So if I go 120 on the X, and this is the Y from the bottom left. So if I put 100, you will see that should shift it up the screen. So if you say wanted it there, I don't know why you would, but you could have it there if you really wanted it. It's just an option that is available for you. I'm just going to revert these back. Now, you might think, actually Additions does something like this. So, actually, Additions does stuff like the Atomic Reconstructor, which I'll show you, as doesn't show on the Atomic Reconstructor. Any block from actually Additions that does this, I've actually disabled it. You can actually also disable this for any of the blocks. So the shock absorber will also have it disabled, which you would expect. It won't show as obviously display stands won't do it as well, but everything that isn't blacklisted will work. I'll show you about the blacklist in a moment when I show you the code for this on everything to do with it. So we've got all this nice stuff here, but there's actually another feature, and that is a new command. So you have the tile entity, or just short for TE, and you see this is how you use it. So here, now one thing to note, you've got to think about it logically. So this generator here is going to be something that provides energy. So that means that you can't give it energy itself, you can only take energy. And this one is something that consumes energy, so you can't take energy, but you can give energy. And pretty self-explanatory, to be honest. So if I go to TE, then I'm just going to say the position. We're going to say the energy. We can get the energy. So you do see that it will print out the energy correctly for this one. And we can give it energy. So I'm going to give it a 10 Tesla, which is just 1 MJ. Now, this one doesn't allow it to be given, so it's because this one only consumes it, I believe, or something like that. Buildcraft is a bit temperamental with it. I'll show you something that will work. So, okay, so we'll do it with the void ore mine. I don't know why it's not working. It's probably because the entities don't have the correct support. So if I it'll get it correctly. I can also give it 1000 Tesla. And you do see that it will update to 1000 Tesla. You can also do this in any energy unit. So you got all of these different energy units. The ones that are built in. So redstone flux is basically the same as Tesla. Give it 1,000,000. There you go. You've filled it up. Now you will note here, if I go back to this entity, if I go to take 1000 like Tesla, you'll say it won't allow it to be taken, because like I said, this is something that consumes energy, something that generates energy. So like something from extra utils to one of these generators, say the culinary regenerator. I'll just go grab some cooked rabbit or something like that. You will see I shove this in here. Obviously we can see it's generating. If I go to here, we should be able to take 100 or 1000 Tesla away from it. So that's on. If I get the lever, that will turn it off. It's supposed to turn it off. Okay, redstone on. So you see how it stopped, and I can take 1000 Tesla. It goes down to 12,000, 11,000, 10,000, and you will see that it also updates inside, which is correct. Now the set command, the tile entity set, the way it works is it either gives or takes energy. So if the energy that you're setting is above what's inside, it will give energy. but seeing as it's a this is a generator, you can't give energy. So if I say set 100,000 Tesla, you will see that nothing happened because it can't do it. But if I say set 10 Tesla, you will see that it did set it to 10 because it can take it away. That's the way that works. So if I say grab this again, I can use the set command on this one. So if I do set, and I'm going to set it to 10,000 Tesla, you will see it has got 10,000 Tesla. Let's say add another 0 so we can see it. There you go, 100,000 Tesla. That's a lot of power. So I forgot to mention, to craft this, all you need to do is get 4 gold ingots and 1 redstone block, and you've got a multimeter. So another really cool feature of the multimeter is, if I go grab myself a nice lovely drill from Actually Edition, this one here, and I'll go grab myself an energizer as well, just so I can show you it. I'll just do it actually. Energizer, innovator, energizer, that's it. So if I actually put this next to, I'll put it on top of here, out, so that's going to fill that up with energy. So if I say hover over this, you'll see that it now shows 0 RF no matter what I'm looking at, and that's because this is holding 0 RF, obviously. In Actually Edition 1.11, it uses crystal flux, which is basically the same as RF. But if I do shove it in here, that will charge it up. That's using up energy from here. You can see that's really going down quite fast. I'll just take that out. That's 157,000, and you can see it's on 157,000. So that will work with any item that uses energy. So another item that will use energy. Let's have a look. I'm not sure there's that many, but there is items that do use energy. So stuff like this wireless grid. A wireless grid, if I energize it up, that's full. You will see that it does use RF. Now another feature of the API is this update checker, which we'll go over how this works later. So I can actually show you this in action. Quickly, if I go onto my GitHub, I'll quickly demonstrate how I can show you this in action. So here we are over at the file. You can see that the version here is saying it's 0.0.1, which is our current version. If I actually edit this and put it as 0.0.2, saying it's a newer version, then you'll see that when I spawn in, that it will actually work. So I'll just commit this update here, and you can see that that has updated. So if I save and quit and I log back in, and you can see that it did in fact work. So yeah, let's show you the code. So here we are over in the code. So I'm going to just walk you through everything that we've got here. So we've got an energy bar, which is basically similar to what we saw on the bottom left. That was actually the overlay one, because the overlay adds a little bit extra to the drawing of it, which is just this stuff here. That's just a little bit extra. This energy bar is a button, so I'll explain why it's a button. It's because when you click it, it's supposed to cycle through the different energy units. The action performed, this is supposed to be called in your GUI class action performed, and when you add the button, you need to just do it in init, in the GUI, like in a GUI method, and you need to add it to the button list. That will automatically make it draw. It's quite a simple drawing method, which is quite cool, and that's the easy way of showing energy. We've got this progress bar here, which is just a simple progress bar. It does what you'd expect a progress bar to do. So you set the min and the max. This was covered in a tutorial this class. It's actually part of the bit of everything mod in a tutorial series. That is the same class. We've got the command config. You don't really need to use them. you actually have the clear color and item color crafting recipes. So basically what these are is item color allows you to color your colorable item or block with dyes like the canvas, and this clear color is basically how you remove the color just by putting it in a crafting slot. So these are now part of the API. The most important stuff, and the things that are going to get you interested in this, is the energy. So every single energy API that I'm using, so I'm using CJCore, Buildcraft, Forge Energy and Tesla, every single one of these you want to be able to have an iEnergy support, which says the support. So this says take a look at CJCore support, which will show you how to set this up. So obviously you get the energy stored from a container, you get the capacity from the container, you give energy, you take energy, you can receive, you can extract. You get the container, you check whether it has support, and you also have the default energy unit. So here we go, this is CJCore support. So CJCore, every single tile entity can be one of three things, like I mentioned earlier. You have the iEnergy holder, which allows you not to give or take energy, just holds energy. You have an iEnergy provider, means it creates its own energy like a generator, which you can only take energy from. You also have a iEnergy receiver, which consumes them energy like that controller from refined storage. So what we have to do for each of these different types, we have to register our own support for the interface which represents this. That links with capabilities and that lot. So obviously you can get the energy stored. I recommend you check this out. This will show you everything. The default energy unit is obviously redstone flux for this, because that's where redstone flux came from, I believe. And I'll show you Forge Energy. Forge Energy only has one kind of storage, and that is the iEnergy storage. That can be given, that can be taken, and that is super simple. So that is how you create a support. Now you'll see over in Energy Utils that these support, I automatically add this, add in all the support. If Tesla's available, it'll add Tesla support, and if Buildcraft is available, you'll add Buildcraft support. And you have to add the energy holder, consumer and producer support, exactly like what I've just said the CJCore was like. And these are the methods that do that. So the first utility method that you can use is the get energy holder support, which will basically get the energy holder support if it has support. If it doesn't have support, you won't get any support, and that's from a tile entity, energy consumer producer, and that also is from an item stack, because item stacks also have the ability to hold energy, which I forgot to show you. I'll just describe that now. You have stuff like the drill. If you hold the drill, it will actually show the energy inside of it with the multimeter, which is sick. So obviously now you get the energy support. This will just try and get the correct energy support item stack, and the tail entity checks whether it has support. One of the most useful ones that you're going to use a lot is a convert energy method from the unit, and all that does is convert energy from one unit to another unit, and you put in the energy. That will be used quite a lot. So here's the interesting part. We got the get energy stored, which basically does what it says on the tin. It gets the energy inside a tile entity or an item stack, and what it does, it will return this amount of energy in the energy unit Minecraft joules. The reason why it does this is because it's a universal Minecraft joules. It's a universal energy unit which you just want to convert from Minecraft joules to whatever you're on at the moment. Pretty much all the time it's going to be the one in the config, the default energy unit. So you can also get an energy stored from tile entities and item stacks, and similarly you can get the capacity. You can also give it energy. Now again, when you give an energy, you need to put it in the Minecraft joules energy unit, the energy that you're going to give, because it'll convert from that into the default one for the container, and then it will give the amount of energy that was given or should have been given if it was a simulation in the Minecraft Joules energy unit as stated by the Java doc. And that also works for item stacks. You can take energy, exactly the same concept. It's in Minecraft Joules, and that's from a tile entity, an item stack. Set energy. Now, set energy was something that was added in the latest version of the API. These two weren't here before. These are here now. It basically either gives energy or takes energy based on how much energy is inside. Like I explained earlier, obviously that needs to be in Minecraft Joules. And you have the can receive, says where it can receive. You have the can, that's item stacks to tile entities. Can extract item stack tile entity. Take energy all faces. Now this is actually a pretty decent method. I really like this method. What this does is it will go through all of the different faces and it will see if there's got the support. If they have the support, it will add it to the side, and what it will do is it will evenly distribute the amount of energy to each side. Now or evenly take energy from every side. Now if it couldn't take any energy because it's got no energy inside, this will actually be taken from the next one to see if that can do it. If it can't do it, then it'll go to the next one. Basically it evenly distributes it. Same with give energy, that will also evenly distribute it. They are unfertile entities. Now you add cache data. This is saves data when syncing with the server. This is server side stuff, so syncing with server. You're not really going to use this majority of the time, but you're going to be using the get cached energy data and these two methods, which I'll explain now. So the way cached energy data works is when you sync with the server, the client will send it back to the client and add this data to cached data. And there's two ways that we do this. So here we have the sync energy, which what it does is it'll send a packet to the server side. This packet is over here in energy. This packet get energy, like so. And what this will do is it'll get the energy from the tile entity, and it will just store this inside of the latest cached energy data. So an example of this will be in the item multimeter class. So if I show you down here that what I'm doing is I'm syncing every 10 seconds, every 10 ticks I'm going to sync it, and what we're going to do is the sync that I'm calling is this one here, and what it does is it puts the data in the mod, so mod specific data to the class that you enter. So as you can see in get catch data, it's either the one with just mod ID, where it just gets the calling class, or this one where you say the specific class, and that will get the data and then it'll remove the data. So sync energy, what you need to do is called sync energy, and if data's it will just get the catch data, and this is how I just convert it to the default one. And the energy bar actually does provide a method which allows you to put in the data, which is great. So that's how we sync the energy data. Now you might want to look at the energy data class here. It's a very simple class. All it does is it stores the energy and the capacity, and you can get both of these. So you can sync energy, you can get the capacity. Obviously both of these have two methods, one for the caller class or one for the class that you enter. Energy data, that will return. When you just use sync energy and sync capacity, it will only set the energy field in the energy data. So it only set the energy, you won't set the capacity on sync energy, and vice versa. When you sync energy data, it'll sync both of the fields. That's what I'm using in the multimeter. And now there's also another way of doing this, is sync energy field, and this is, say we're using a field which stores the energy. So you would have a field like in the 1.10 version, I believe. I don't understand why, but it doesn't work like the energy data. But if I did public static, like long, it must be a long energy, and I can sync the energy and say that the class, like the field name, is energy, and I'll update that variable there in that class. And that works with energy, capacity, energy data. Energy data will do the energy field name and the capacity, and that's the energy utils. Now, energy units is a very simple to understand an energy unit. It basically has an unlocalized name, a name, and a suffix. So, and it also has a multiplier and a color. So the default one, which these are private, so you have to create it down below. I'll show you that. What it does is it actually gets a localized version of it. So if I go over to the language file here, you'll see that each energy unit I've got has a name and a suffix. Now this will only work for the client side. There's obviously a second version of this which allows you to set the color. You can either have a color as an int, so like the hexadecimal color value, or each RGB color here. And then you have this one which allows you to set the name and a suffix as well. That's because on the server side you can't localize data. Here we have a list of energy units. You just create your energy unit here using your unlocalized name, multiplier, and color. The unlocalized name is basically just a name, so redstone underscore flux or Tesla. The multiplier is how you convert from MJ to your unit. So 1 MJ equals 10 RF, so the multiplier would be 10 for RF. 4 joules is 1 MJ, so the multiplier would be 4, and that's used for conversion. The color will just be the color that we see in the energy bar. This one allows you to put a readable color in. This one sets the name and a suffix, and that's for both of these. And here you can get the list of the registered energy units, and you can also access these units here. Now there's 2 init methods that you will have to do for your own. You'd have to have a client one and a server one. The client one would just have the ones that don't set the name, so it uses the localized version, and the server will have this one, which is the default one. So that is the energy units. If you want to create an energy unit, just call create energy unit. You got the server ones. If you on a server side, that's how you do it. Client side will just be the normal regular one. So that is the energy units, and let's head over to the utility class. So the utility package has a lot of quite useful stuff. So you've got a generic tile entity here, which is basically what any tile entity that needs to save data should look like. So here what we're having is it says whether it should refresh, and this is saying if the block has changed, we're going to refresh. If the block, like say it's changed the type of block, so you get an advanced block breaker and you change it to a basic, it shouldn't replace the tile entity. You just change a field in the tile entity, and this data, and then you have the saving stuff, so that's get update packet, on data packet, and get update tag. All these do is write client data to MBT and read client data from MBT. That's for client specific data, but data you want on the client. So that's what a generic tile entity will be like. All you need to do is extend this, and I'll make you add these 2 methods here. You got the inventory utils. This is still a work in progress, this one, but it has some pretty neat stuff here. So the first one says whether you have this item stack in the player's hotbar, and that does include the offhand slot. So what we do, it also has an ignore MBT and ignore metadata, and that basically says whether you should ignore metadata and ignore MBT. Simple as. So if you got ignore MBT on, then you're not gonna, if the MBT isn't the same, it doesn't really matter. And that's the same for metadata. If the metadata isn't the same, it doesn't really matter. And that basically says if you've got it in the hotbar, you'll see that this uses the isStackEqual method here, which says whether stack A and stack B are equal using ignore MBT and ignore metadata, which is quite simple. You also have a calculate redstone method here from an item stack handler. I believe this will be updated in the future just to accept a tile entity, and you'll be able to calculate the redstone from the tile entity. You can have add stack to inventory. This will also be updated to handle tile entity instead of item handler, but currently it's on an item handler. You have is inventory full for item handler and the max slot, so that's basically go up to a certain slot. And the next one is get color from dye. So this is actually quite a useful method here if you are working with colors and it's from another mod. So you want to see if it's a black dye, the item, so you can easily get that here, the color from it. So that's the inventory utils. You obviously have the network utils, which the network utils are quite cool. You might use it, you might not. There's not that much stuff here. There might be more in the future, but it's just stuff I thought that you would need to use. So you have a write block pass, which just writes a block pass, because I found I have to keep doing this all the time and it's a lot easier to do this. And you can read a block pass, you can write an enum facing, and you can read it all from a byte buffer. So I'll show you over here in like the get capacity that what we do here is pars equals network utils, and you just write it like you would any normal thing when you're using byte buffer utils. Now finally, the next awesome thing is the version checker. This version checker I find absolutely amazing. It's actually really simple to understand. So if I go onto my web browser, so here we have the file on GitHub. So this is the file that we're checking for an update. So this is what your file, if you're using this, should look like. You're going to put a name, the version that it's on, the latest version, and also the changelog, which is just a list of strings, which is basically what appeared in chat. If I updated this, it would appear in chat. And it also says a download link, so I'll show you this here. This just says whether there's an update, so it gets the version from this file and says whether there is an update. This is where the CJCore URL is, so I can actually quickly show you this, that this is exactly the raw version of what we just saw. So it just says whether there's a update. This one will check for update. I use this in a simple player login event. So when the player logs in, it will check for update, and all it does is it gets all the stuff from the server. It gets all the stuff from the file on GitHub. It loads it all up, and if there is an update, it will print out to the player saying there's an update, including the changelog, which is pretty awesome. So one thing I did forget to do is mention that we actually have an IMC event set up for blacklisting blocks for the multimeter overlay. So as you can see here, it's defaultly blacklisting all of the actually edition blocks, which show their energy. But what you can do if you have another block that automatically shows its energy, or you just don't want this block to show energy, all you need to do is do fml into mod comms like so dot send message, and then the resource location value, the mod ID is CJCore, the key is multimeter blacklist, and the value is the registry name of that block, so like a new resource location. The way you know that it's worked is it'll actually print out in the chat or in the log when you boot up in your development area that it has blacklisted that block. So guys, that is the API so far. Hope you like it. Hope you look forward to the next update, which will be as soon as I can. So thank you guys for watching. Don't like, comment and subscribe. I am out.